We will now move to a Fireside chat with Rene Obermann. And Shai, do we have Rene online? Welcome to Europe Days, Rene. Thank you for being us today.
Shalom, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Overall, yes.
I thought
great. We are trying to be positive.
Good. Should we start with, would you like to introduce yourself? Should I introduce you?
Go right ahead, please. You know me well.
Okay, so Rene is the managing director of Warburg Pincus Europe. As you know, maybe you're familiar with the company Max in Israel, which is one of their investments. Rene is also the chairman of Airbus. And in his previous career, he has been both on the corporate side, leading companies like Deutsche Telekom, as well as an entrepreneur where he opened some startups. So he's well aware of Europe, obviously, entrepreneurship and corporate side, and now the investment side. So Rene, thank you for taking the time. And I'd like, we've been holding on the whole morning with the AI topic, and I wanted to start us with the AI, and what do you see? Where are the opportunities for Europe with AI?
I mean, obviously, AI is critical, if not essential, for almost everything in life and in work. From our kids teaching to learning for adults, for grown-ups, to learning in the workplace. Which is an ever-growing topic where I think much more effort will need to be invested in. AI is critical for design processes, to production, to service, to the workplace as such. Also for manual workers, because as we, for instance, use it in the aviation industry, it's already kind of a blended reality between the virtual reality and the physical work. A lot of manual work is already being replaced by robots. I mean, I shouldn't explain that to you because you guys are at the forefront. But for instance, when I walk into a Lufthansa lounge, and this is in good old Germany, for those of you who have traveled to Germany quite a bit, you know that we are a little behind the curve when it comes to innovation adoption. And I encounter a robot cleaning up the place in the Lufthansa lounge. Then I scratch my head and says, is this Germany? Yeah. So apparently we see more and more openness to innovation, even in Germany. And again, AI is going to be in every bit and piece of the workplace and in our life, from media to personal communication. Avatars in our life, travel with AI support. Like when you look at companies like Get Your Guide, how are they deploying AI, for instance, to enhance the user experience, both when configuring and booking their travel, but also when being on site, experiencing the travel as such. AI is critical in how we consume. It's critical in everything. So it's hard to start somewhere and to stop. It is unfortunately also very critical in geopolitics. And this is a very strategic topic, particularly in a new multipolar world order where warfare has already become hybrid, where weapon systems and effectors become more or less autonomous and coordinated in real time, where compute power is no longer only in the backend, but also in the edge and in the fog. And to coordinate systems in real time is key for future security and for future security systems. AI will add to, if not even disrupt, all business models over time. And guess what? Automation and capacity in Europe, and this is probably a more strategic overarching topic, but automation and capacity is badly needed in many EU countries because we have a massive demographic problem. i.e. Germany will lose, without integrating more migrant workers into Germany systematically, Germany will lose almost a third of its workforce over the next decades, a third of our workforce. And that can lead to a fundamental crisis, and therefore automation on the one side, AI supported processes and productivity on the one side, but also a systematic integration of a big number of migrants is the only way to fix this. And that comes with challenges. And if you think that through, you can derive thesis for entrepreneurial activities or for investments out of this. And last point I would make, Gili, is that very few companies in Europe so far, very few companies have a holistic view about all their business areas, let alone a holistic strategy for where in their business and how to deploy which kind of AI tools, and how to avoid a massive value shift to third parties, and how to cooperate with young innovation companies. So in other words, what I'm trying to portray here is a lot of European companies, from corporates to mid-sized companies, I think would be wide open for AI professionals and young AI companies to come and say, we thought about this, here we have a value proposition for you based on AI, and this is how we can integrate it into your IT systems. That's a more generic statement, I know, but I think we have to start somewhere and then dig down deeper.
Thank you. And if we leave out the defense sector, is there any one or two specific sectors you say are the low-hanging fruit and advice for the startups in the room? Or
yeah, I mean, there are many low-hanging fruits at the moment. I mean, because you are in Israel, in many respects, technologically at the forefront, and some of the problems which we need to solve, at this end at least, in Europe and particularly in Germany, are quite basic problems. So sometimes when I come and see companies in Israel, I find that you're already there, and we need to solve the next problem, which is far earlier than where already you have gotten to technologically. So you mentioned I shouldn't dwell into the defense sector, but I would normally say European defense companies need trustful cooperation with young technology companies, for all the reasons mentioned before, and therefore I wouldn't put that outside of the scope. The civil sector, I would start with the service industries and transactional businesses, based on data-driven decision models and digital interactions. Very simple things to begin with, i.e. in the whole medical systems. You have no idea how much redundancy there is in, no idea how inefficient sometimes the administration work for doctors still are. And there are some companies now trying to address that, but I would still say the space is wide open for innovation and for alleviating the workload, the administrative workload of doctors and care personnel in the medical process along the chain of treatment, or from diagnosis to treatment. But that does require a very detailed analysis of what are the legal requirements. So it's not a piece of cake, it's not easy, but it's a wide open space. And I would always do that together, from a tech side, together with experts, local experts who understand the regulation. The other sector I'd say is data-driven decision models and digital interaction, like for instance in insurance claim management. Yeah, this requires automation, more automation than there is today. Take customer services in telecommunications, for instance. How many repetitive and simple problems are being flooding the hotlines, like hundreds of thousands of issues per day per large telecom operator. Delivery services, etc., route optimization. There's so much more to do. Then take the whole area of teaching, training, and learning, in addition to the regulated school system. Yeah, we have business models here which are highly successful, based on manual, like personal training of kids after school to help them, for instance, improve their math skills or their coding skills or their vocational skills or whatsoever. And imagine the opportunity for highly intelligent, personalized tutorial systems, which can replace all these super expensive schools and additional systems where people pay a lot of money. And last point I'd like to mention, I touched upon the medical sector on the administration side. I would also say the whole area of image recognition to support doctors and an ever shrinking number of available doctors, i.e. in radiology and in radiotherapy. We have a big problem here. And if we have reliable systems which are super well trained to help them interpret the pictures, also is a big area of opportunity. Just to mention a few, I mean, we could keep on like until tomorrow morning with this.
Of course. Thank you. As a person who's met with a lot of startups, is there like one terrible mistake you would advise startups not to do, especially Israeli startups approaching Europeans?
There are a couple of points. How much time do we have? 1 minute, 2 minutes left?
Before we open to Q&A, we have a minute. Yeah.
Okay. So one of the, I think, patterns I was watching, and this is not specific to Israeli startups, but this is more specific to startups overall, is they vastly underestimate the relevance of entering a cooperation with a large corporate via the top. They overestimate that, sorry, not underestimate. They overestimate, they meet a CEO and they think, okay, if the CEO is enthusiastic, this is going to get done. Or they overestimate the practical relevance of corporate venture capital. And the money, of course, is important, but corporate venture capital in many cases does not come automatically with open doors to cooperate and use, for instance, the corporate go-to-market model to collaborate with. It is not necessarily the case, because in large corporations, you often have this organ-donor reaction where large organizations would say, no, we can do that all by ourselves, we can do it better. So it's not a done deal just because a corporate venture capitalist has invested into you. Yeah? And so this is something you need to clarify before defining your cap table. What kind of corporate venture arm do you really want to have in your company? What do they really deliver? What can they really execute thereafter? And I know this is controversial because many of the corporate venture guys sit in the room and they'll probably kill me for that statement thereafter. But that's my personal experience. And lastly, I find sometimes Israeli startups are barking up the wrong tree. Yeah, you should, in my view, you should find out early which company is really interested in doing business and has a problem to solve which you can help with, as opposed to which company is just innovation tourism. There's a lot of companies who are, visiting Israel and they're seeing all of you, but they don't really have business models underlying. It's just more like curiosity. So find out how precise is the problem statement and can you really help with your solution? And then lastly, do not overpromise and underdeliver. Sometimes it's a bit of a selling process. You're still in development, and the other side thinks you can resolve the issue already with your technology, but it still takes more time and more development, and then trust is being affected. So just my 50 cents.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the audience? Questions to Rene? Please.
Hi, thanks again. We develop very deep infrastructure solution in terms of photonic computing. And we find it's a very hard area for market penetration. And I would like some advices in terms of the European market. How would you go about with new processors using light instead of electricity in order to really find the right collaborators in order to penetrate the market? What would you say? Thank you.
That's a question I would need to think through, because who are your key competitors? The traditional tech companies, right?
Not only, also silicon photonics, because we use a specific fiber-based solution, which is very different. And the silicon photonics industry is now on the rise.
And who would be your key customers typically?
Data center and infrastructures, integrators, companies like Intel, HPE, AMD.
But then you can simply approach them and talk to them, because if your solution is, I mean, I'm for instance, I'm the deputy chair at Ionos, which is a company which does both web productivity and also it does enterprise cloud, and as such, running 11 data centers or so. So energy is one of the largest cost items, and energy efficiency and has both the cost as also the sustainability relevance. Companies like Ionos or OVH or also the smaller, sometimes the smaller but more innovative cloud service providers could be interesting companies to talk to. And there, because they are fairly small companies, I would approach the C-level, and I would, send them a note saying, this is what we can deliver, and do you want to engage? Have a conversation over the phone to begin with. They should be easier to open up. If you do this with large corporations, it's much more cumbersome. But you should probably find yourself 2 or 3 smaller players to begin with, and then it proliferates, because they sometimes implement an innovative solution much faster than the large ones.
Thank you.
Rene, thank you very much. Our time is up. I greatly appreciate your being with us, and till hopefully soon.
Yes, hopefully soon. All the best to you guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you very
Tschüss.
much. Bye-bye.
Tschüss.
Good.